Welcome to Meditating with John Vervaeke. I'm a cognitive psychologist and a cognitive scientist at the University of Toronto. I teach and scientifically study on topics like mindfulness and related topics like insight, flow, mystical experience, transformative experience, higher states of consciousness, the cultivation of wisdom, the aspiration towards enlightenment and virtue. I've also been practicing Vipassana meditation for 29 years, as well as metta contemplation and Tai Chi Chuan and Qigong. I've been practicing them for 29 years, like as an ecology of practices, mutually supporting, constraining, and affording each other. In addition, I've been teaching them close to 20 years in various professional settings, sometimes at the University of Toronto at the Multi-Faith Center, in various martial arts dojos, alternative health centers. So a lot of different venues, a lot of different teaching experiences. Welcome. This is a progressive course. Up until now, every Monday has been a Dharma day in which we have been meeting, and I will teach a practice or a principle that builds on previous practices and principles. If you want to catch up, there's the links in the description to this video of previous lessons. We're now going to start slowing down the pace at which I start teaching new material to give people a chance to catch up, and also to give people who have been doing the course a chance to review and refresh and renew. Next Monday, I'm going to start an advanced technique, and it's going to be called, it is called Lectio Divina, which means divine reading. For those of you who want to do this more advanced technique, it's a way of learning to read that is conducive and supportive of the cultivation of wisdom, the cultivation of mindfulness, etc. If you can, I'm not requiring anything, if you can find a text that you find sacred in some sense, that would be good. I'm going to use, and if you can, I recommend trying to get a text that is sacred poetry. Here's one by Stephen Mitchell. It's particularly good. Anthologies are excellent, but you may have a text by Rumi, or perhaps by St. John of the Cross, something that is poetry and sacred to you, and then also something perhaps that's prose if you can. It's good to have a combination. Sacred prose. Maybe it's some philosopher you particularly like. Maybe it's an important text like the Bhagavad Gita or the Tao Te Ching. Maybe it's the Bible. Try and find something. If you can find at least one, that's great. If you can find an example of both poetry and prose that you'll be able to practice with extensively, that's good. So I'll be taking you through how to do Lectio Divina. This is a way, remember the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. This is a way of doing Dharma. You're not just learning and consuming information. You're reading not for information, you're reading for transformation. And so that's what I'm going to be teaching you with Lectio Divina. So there's some things you can do to help me, please. Please like this video stream because it will raise its profile and presence for the YouTube algorithm, and that will help me to reach more people with this course and with this community. I'm very, very grateful and impressed by the community that's growing around this course. The Sangha is amazing. The questions and the participation and the involvement and the commitment is truly, truly honorable and should be honored, which is what I'm doing right now. At the end of every lesson, so every other Monday will be a Dharma day. Next Monday is Lectio Divina. Every day we sit together, Monday through Friday. At the end of every sit, there's Q&A. Please limit the Q&As during those times to questions about the ecology of practices, the course that I'm teaching. If you have more general questions, perhaps about how this fits into the broader framework of Buddhism, or how it compares to Stoicism, or what it has to do, say about what this has to do with cultivation of wisdom or responding to the meaning crisis, then please bring those general questions to live Q&A we have every third Friday of the month at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, live streamed on YouTube. I think that's it for now. I think that's everything we could do to begin. So please set your phones on Do Not Disturb. Please get your basic posture ready, and then we will begin when I say begin. Begin. Slowly come out of your practice, trying as best you can to integrate what you cultivated in your practice with your everyday consciousness and cognition, perhaps by reciting the 5 promises to yourself. All right, we have some time for some questions. We can typically go a little bit longer on Mondays and Wednesday, a little bit longer Fridays at the end, sharply on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Gabriel Rubenstein asks, in Vipassana, I find counting my thoughts difficult, but I can recall the thoughtlessness after handling a distraction and meditate on that. Can I skip the counting and train method? Many thanks. Yes. I mean, if you can get to that space because you're getting a very salient felt sense of the thoughtlessness after distraction, and then you can just find that as the focus of deeper Vipassana, yes, by all means. All of these things are rafts. You use them to get to a place. Once you can reliably get there without needing the scaffolding or the inner coaching or the inner talking, you let it go and you just directly do the practice. So if you find that you can reliably, right, without needing to use, the counting and the train method, if you can reliably sense your way, remembering that felt sense of what it's like to be thoughtless, in the sense you're using it, right, and then meditate into that space, do it by all means. By all means, that's a general principle, right? Because all of these things I'm teaching you, eventually you, like I said, you'll just be able to center and root, and right. And then you'll learn new dharma, and you might learn a new practice that rescaffolds you in a way you haven't developed yet. Then you practice that for a while. This is a very organic, living thing. It evolves. It evolves. I think it's Dimitar. Due to a depressive mood or a variety of factors, I'm very often drowsy, even though I'm very physically active. Besides meditating as much as possible during my peak energy levels and trying to address the issues generally, do you have any suggestions on making my mindfulness practice more robust against this? Yes. So one of the things I am going to do in the advanced techniques is teach you some moving mindfulness practices, some Qigong. I'll teach you some basic Qigong, some Yichuan, some Jianzheng, a little bit of Tai Chi, give you a bunch of moving things you can do that will help in order to help you get a more energetic state be the platform in which you are cultivating mindfulness. That will be coming shortly, and I hope that will help. I don't know about your particular physiology, and you mentioned depression. You might be under treatment, so give that absolute priority. But it's part of the tradition also for people who are having a kind of drowsiness to also drink some green tea about 15-20 minutes before meditating to try and help. You can't rely on that long going, but maybe that'll help get you to learn a different metabolic state, and hopefully with the moving mindfulness that will help as well. Again, when I recommend anything like that, I do that with utmost caution and hesitation. I don't know your particular physiology. I don't know your psychological state. I don't know what your therapeutic situation is. I don't know your medical history, both physical or mental health issues. So take that all into consideration and consult whoever you need to consult. But maybe taking the green tea will help you. And definitely the moving mindfulness practices I'm going to teach shortly will be of aid to you. Andrew Castley, mind if I ask what your thoughts on thought forms are? For example, Buddha projecting infinite versions of himself into the dimensions. I don't know a lot about the particular metaphysics. What I mean is I'm ignorant about what the particular metaphysics is you're invoking here. You might be referring to a thought, what's called a thought-only form of Buddhism, or maybe an aspect of Vajrayana, Tibetan Buddhism. You might be talking about the relationship between relative and absolute reality. I don't know which one you're referring to, so it's a difficult question to answer. It might be if you re-asked your question, perhaps. I feel to be premature. It gave me a little bit more context in which you're asking that question, because right now, as I've tried to indicate, it's ambiguous to me where you're coming from, and I don't know which question I'm supposed to be answering. So if you could try that again, I'd be happy to give it a better shot when I get a better sense of where you're coming from. Hulabisia or Hulabika, today I didn't give myself mental instructions. I was peaceful, no monkey mind. I started to feel maybe I'm doing it wrong. Should I continue with or without or alternate the mental instructions? As I've said, again, I'm not inside your head, and this requires tremendous self-honesty on all of our parts. If you can do the practice without having to talk to yourself, then do the practice without having to talk to yourself. But I do recommend, right, that if you just sit and your mind goes sort of blank, no monkey mind, that's very peaceful, but you might not be getting yourself into the deepest possible state. Remember, the Buddha is very, very, many traditions, in fact, warn against this, about just seeking a kind of peaceful contentedness. This is not a vacation from stress. It is an education for resiliency and transformation. So if you're making sure you have the core, if you can do the core four without having to talk to yourself, and if you can bring in the inquiring mindfulness and pursue an ever deepening reciprocal opening in your practice, if you can do all of that without instruction, that's fine. But if you're just getting into a kind of static, unmoving, unexploring, peaceful contentedness, that's actually not conducive to transformation. It's conducive perhaps for restoration, but if you want to actually afford what this practice can most deeply offer you, you need to make sure that the transformative principles are in practice. So I hope that answers your question. Nabella, my student, good to see you. When stating the 5 promises, I add "and with love" after each one, and I find that it deepens my commitment to myself. This is like reciprocal opening. I do the same. I actually do the same, and I often say, I do it, mindfully, carefully, in the sense of both taking care and caring about, and lovingly, as a way of trying to remember I'm doing this, remembering the being mode in the cultivation of wisdom. So I think that's an excellent thing to do. Again, I don't want to lay too much on people, and so just give the basic thing of mindfully. But if there are things that spontaneously come up that deepen your commitment, deepen your sense of reciprocal opening, deepen your ability to sati, remember the being mode, deepen your aspiration towards the cultivation of wisdom, then add them. But don't overburden the promises either. So you're trying to get an optimal grip on them, just the right amount, so that it's always transformative, but not too much so that you're merely enduring saying all the things that you're trying to say. Calder Morgan Ferguson, what could be the cause of feeling of frustration during meditation, or what are strategies to manage this? That's a difficult question. It could be that there's many different possibilities here, and again, I don't know you personally. It could be one of these. One is we're carrying around sort of a background frustration that we're sort of keeping at the fringes of our awareness, sort of suppressing it, marginalizing it, and when we sort of shut off what is normally focal, that can come into awareness. Then, of course, what you want to do is you want to do the 5 factors on the frustration. And then you also want to direct metta towards it. You want to try and go from being into a confrontational relationship to it where you're facing it, where facing now means giving it a face, allowing it to speak to you. What is it you need to be addressing? What is it you need to be learning? And then you might want to pay attention to trying to notice moments in your life where you're experiencing frustration and trying to bring the mindfulness practices to that. That might be one reason. Another reason might be there's something in you that's fighting. It's a form of resistance that's actually fighting doing the meditation itself. There's a transformation. So you need to maybe slow down your effort a little bit. You need to, again, do the same thing. Try to do the 5 factors of inquiring mindfulness on the frustration. Where is it in your body and all that stuff I've taught you. And also, again, direct metta towards it. Try to open it up. There's something there that's trying to slow you down, caution you. You also want to make sure you're doing the things that help keep your motivation strong. You know, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Try to remember moments where the opposite, where you're really getting in sync. You're really cutting deeply through any illusion. You're seeing into the depths of things. You're resonating with the depth. Moments where the Buddha is present to you. Celebrate them. Remember them. Dharma, reading more. I'm going to teach you the Lectio Divina, how to read more deeply in a transformative manner. Learn more. Be transformed more. The only way we can be informed by what's transcendent is how it transforms us. That's the only way we get informed by it. We have to first be transformed towards it. And so that's what you want to do. And then Sangha, keep meeting here. Talk to other people. Maybe, get involved with the chat in Sangha. Ask other people if they're, experiencing any frustration. Get some feedback. Get a sense of what's going on. And so that's what I would recommend as probably what I think are probably 2 of the most probable sources of the frustration and how you could address them. You could also have a mixture of both. So see if that helps. DS, if there is an issue to meditate just after running, I think I'm only getting part of that question. All I'm getting is if there is any issue to meditating just, I'm sorry, I misread it. I don't think so. Right after running is probably good, as long as your heart isn't pounding and you're not breathing heavily. You've done enough of a warm down. But yeah, actually, that's very good to meditate right after running because you're oxygenated. You've probably got some cognitive flexibility going, a high degree of brain activation. The cerebellum has been activated, the cerebellum cortex loop. I think that would actually be excellent, as long as I said you're not just feeling your heart pounding or you've done a proper warm down. Mark Lefebvre. Hi, Mark. Mark is, his participation in the Sangha, his support of it, his affordance of it, his good-spirited commitment to it is much appreciated. I'm getting just better elucidation on the difference between flow and focus. So they are deeply interpenetrating, and flow is very much about opening up that field of interoceptive awareness, whereas focus is the degree to which you're following the focal area of your breath. Remember, field and focus. And what's being maintained there is more about the continuity. So flow is more about sort of trying to fill the whole of the body with the whole of the mind. And then focus is more about trying to get a sense of momentum to this. Now, but as you're rightly noting, that has an aspect of flow to it, because when you get into flow, it helps you be more absorbed. It makes it more self-organizing, which is precisely why I teach you flow before I teach you focus. You should find that there's a continuum between them. They're not totally identical. Where I would say that flow is more sort of about the embodiment of what you do, of the breath, and then focus is more about the enactment, how one moment of mindfulness is leading to the next. But there's definitely a continuum between them. Matthew McCready, I sometimes find myself rooting, centering, or finding my flow in my normal life. Is this like meditating before sleep, and should it only be done when I'm sitting? No, it's not like meditating before sleep. Do more of that, Matthew. Encourage that. That's celebrating your Buddha. If you find yourself centering, rooting, and finding your flow throughout your normal life, that is exactly what you want. That spontaneous transfer. That's your Buddha coming into existence. Nurture that, celebrate that. That is amazing. That is great. That is good. Ben Gao, I am confused about metta towards myself. Is wanting to be secure or esteemed having myself? Is wanting to be more able and effective having myself? What is reciprocal opening towards oneself? Reciprocal opening towards oneself is precisely not to have oneself. And it's not about what you want for yourself. It's about what you have not seen or realized about yourself. It's about opening. It's like when you're falling in love with somebody and you see what you haven't seen about them before. It's not what you want from them. If you just want from somebody else, you're not actually loving them. It's what you're seeing, what you're realizing in a resonant fashion about them that you haven't realized or seen before. That's what you're after when you're doing metta towards yourself. You're trying to take an open stance towards it, because the idea is when we genuinely, there's a kind of goodness that's not the goodness of affection. It's the goodness of genuine realization. And so we're trying the opening, right? The open affect, when you're sort of, may I be happy and healthy. Remember, that's not the goal. You're not wanting that for yourself. You're trying to put yourself into an open, positive attitude, because that facilitates reciprocal opening. It is a method. It's not a goal. The goal is to try and realize what you have not seen about yourself before. Open up. That's why, the inquiring mindfulness is also relevant to metta in a particular way. That sense of opening up, unlocking your identity, letting it be other than how you have always had it or want to have it. That's exactly what you're trying to do in metta. Nishargo, I doubted what unconscious drives motivated me to meditate, and I'm not sure why I continue practice it anymore. Should I continue meditating without a good reason? So that's a good question. And what typically happens when we're aspiring, which means to go through transformation and become someone different, be a different person with different perspectives and a different identity. That's what it is when you want to go from being foolish to wise, or cowardly to courageous, right? These are aspirational. Your reasons for doing it will change. Why you started meditating is not why you will continue meditating. Keep practicing and let a new reason for why you're meditating emerge out of the practice. Not just the practice in the sitting, but your practice in your life. Because that new reason is actually you moving to a new perspective, a new way of being. If you keep trying to start with your original motive, you will stay in the world and the original place you were in. You will not actually afford aspiration. Julianne Weinstein, question about overconsumption of spiritual talks and teachings online. Seems to be something I do a lot. Hours of listening to enlightened folks, but very little time spent practicing. Any advice? Yes. You're noticing something that we all fall prey to. What's the proverb? I forget what it is. It's something like I buy the book and confuse it with reading the book, right? So getting consuming beliefs and statements from people is very much a having mode thing. And we all fall prey to this. I'm not trying to be accusative. I'm trying to be helpful to you. And this is why I often say to people, don't tell me what you believe, tell me what you practice. Because it's only in the practice that we'll get the transformation. And only in the transformation will we become conformed and thereby informed about what transcends us. Because if we're trying to grow, we have to come into relation to what transcends us as we are now. There is no other way. And so if you're constantly assimilating, just constantly taking it in, right, and gathering, then you're actually not accommodating. You're not actually practicing coming into a process of transformation. And so very often, this kind of modal confusion, it has to do with the fact that we are attracted. There's something calling us. We feel called to the transformation, but there's some underlying anxiety about actually pursuing the transformation. So we substitute, it's in cognitive science, it's called satisficing. We satisfice with listening, about spirituality and gathering, gems of phrases and terms. And again, I'm not accused. We are all prone to this. Okay, and so we have to thereby note that we have to turn and ask ourselves, maybe doing meta towards ourselves, doing inquiring mindfulness. Why am I not practicing? What's the anxiety I'm not facing? What am I perhaps afraid of? What is it I don't want to actually have changed in me? Do some, maybe meditative questing on this, do some meta towards the anxiety, apply the 5 factors of inquiring mindfulness, and then independently do reflection. I'm going to teach you guys this later, but journal about it. Don't ruminate, think in your head. Write down your thoughts, leave them for a while, come back, reread them. Correct them as if they were written by somebody else, like interact them, and then write some more. Go away, come back. So first person while you're writing, and then third person as if somebody else had written it, and you're trying to get the Solomon effect. Journal about it. Really, really work on this. Because if you can get, right, the anxiety up and disclosed, then it won't be, being conflated with the attraction, and that won't be subverted into just consuming ideas and persons. I hope that's helpful, and I hope you don't feel I was trespassing on you. I'm not trying in any way to be insulting. We are all prone to this. I am prone to this, right? I know this. And so this is what I'm recommending you need to do. All right, everybody. Thank you for the excellent questions today. Thank you for joining. I want to thank my dear friend and techno major Mar, my beloved son Jason, always behind the scenes making everything happen. Please subscribe to this channel to be notified of the next video. You'll also find on the channel my Awakening from the Meaning Crisis lecture series, or my Voices with Vervaeke discussion series, where many of these topics and related topics are discussed and examined in greater depth and in a wider framework. Invite others who might benefit to join this series. We're slowing down the pace so people have the time to catch up. People can review, can soak it in. There is also a link in the description of this video to the Discord server to chat with others. Brett, Pleasure of Doubt, is running that. He's acting as a liaison. There's people meeting on the Discord service and following the meditations, and then meeting up and doing a sort of after sit discussion, a salon, dialogue, and then also setting that within the broader context of, I guess, all of my work and what's going on right now, as the culture, I think, is trying to wake up in certain ways. So I strongly recommend that you check out the Discord server. Reminder that we are doing this every weekday morning at 9:30 Eastern Time, every alternative Monday, starting next Monday, which is the 25th, I think, or something like that. But the next Monday we're going to encounter, we do a Dharma Day, and then every other Monday that'll continue on. Please remember that continuity of practice, especially when it gets hard in your life or in your practice, is more important than quantity. And please remember, because it's come up a lot, Sati, remember, there is no enemy worse than your own mind and body, but there is no friend, no ally greater than your own mind and body. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all tomorrow.